Here and there at some of the ground zero and nuclear weapons freeze meetings and rallies, you may see people wearing eye patches like this, and some think that they could become the insignia or the symbol of the movement against the bomb. The reason for the patch is this. On the long-range bombers of the U.S. Strategic Air Command, the planes that the Air Force keeps in the air at all times ready to drop nuclear bombs on the Russians, on these planes, the crew, the pilot and the navigators, all wear patches over one eye. Because if the enemy starts dropping the bombs, anyone looking at those atomic explosions will be blinded. But if they wear a patch over the eye, they will still have one good eye to continue on target to drop their bombs. So in a sense, the wearing of this patch reminds us that in the world today, that incandescent flash could occur at any time.
Within 40 miles, anyone looking at a nuclear explosion will suffer retina burn. It is probable that most of the survivors of a nuclear blast will be blind. Radioactivity will spread widely. It was reported this weekend that people in New York may now be suffering cancers and leukemias caused by radioactive rain from United States nuclear tests in Nevada in the 1960s. Scientific evidence is mounting that there may be no civil defense possible against nuclear war and its radioactive aftermath. Physicians in both the United States and the Soviet Union are increasingly active in urging their governments to agree on methods to avoid nuclear war. As the movement for a nuclear freeze gains force, military leaders, politicians, and citizens are seeking new approaches. This weekend in the New York Times, Admiral Noel Geiler, former United States commander in the Pacific and head of the National Security Agency, urged an immediate move toward disarmament with both the United States and the Soviet Union, giving up immediately those nuclear weapons they choose to give up first. All weapons would count as equal. There would be no quibbling. In Washington, there is now a move in both houses to amend the IRS laws so that individual citizens can stipulate that the tax monies that normally go to the military are redirected to conflict resolution studies. 53% of federal taxes now go to the military. Other congressional proposals include Representative Morris Udall's suggestion that world leaders in Russia and the United States send their children on a cultural exchange to live in each other's major cities to prevent a sneak attack. And in London, the local council is seeking a nuclear-free zone agreement with the local council in Moscow to press their respective national governments to guarantee not to target the cities in the event of nuclear war.
One of the most original ideas is that of Roger Fisher, a Harvard law professor who now works in a new field called conflict resolution. He devised the Middle East settlement. Well, Fisher has suggested that the code number the president needs to send off nuclear bombs should be sealed in a tiny capsule and surgically embedded next to the heart of a military volunteer, who would then be on permanent standby near the president with a meat cleaver that the president would use to kill the volunteer to get the code. Thus, the president would be forced to confront the facticity of the human slaughter being unleashed. The Pentagon says it's a terrible idea because having the president kill someone would, as they put it, distort the president's judgment, and he might never press the button. Well, whether anything comes of this idea or whether these eye patches assume any symbolic significance is something that will probably become clearer at the United Nations Special Session on Disarmament scheduled for next June, when they will continue the search to find ways to stop the unthinkable. We'll have more ideas being advanced here and abroad in our next Science Report. Kevin Sanders, CNN.